Welcome to the Nurse Life Coach Academy podcast, where Laura
and Shelby, both board certified nurse coaches, talk all about how to get certified and practice professionally as a nurse life coach. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nurse Life Coach Academy podcast. Me. I am here solo with you today, and I'm excited to dive into this topic of how you, the nurse, can help people as a nurse coach. I've been talking to a lot of nurses over the past week or two, and this is a question that's coming up a lot of like, nurse coaching sounds cool. I never really thought of myself as a business owner before, but I'm open to the idea. I've worked in the ER for 12 years, or I work in a GI lab now, or PACU or ICU or whatever. How does this translate? How does this work? And I love this question, and I kind of hate this question all at the same time because the answer is so simple, and in the same breath, it is so big. So I'm going to do my best to chop it down here for you, because there's one side of me that's like, you can do whatever you want, like the fairy godmother of nurse coaching dreams, of just like, whatever you want, baby girl, you got it. It's all yours. And that is true. That is true. Literally, nurse coaching can be so many things to so many people, and every private practice looks a little bit different. And that is the beauty and the reality of it all. And also, the more nuanced answer to this question is that you have to embark on your own quest to figure out how you help people. And that sounds so daunting. I don't mean to be discouraging at all in the slightest, but a lot of times people uncover how they help people by going through the process of certification themselves. And we could probably send 5 million nurses through nurse coaching certification, and they're all going to come out the other end transformed in some way, with a new perspective, with new skills, and they're all going to have a different flavor or a different take on how to help people in the real world. And I want to really encourage all of you who are nurses who are listening to this and maybe hearing about nurse coaching for the first time to just like recognize what an inherent badass you already are. Like, nurses are so well equipped for this life coaching role because we have brought babies into the world, and we have held the patient's hands that are transitioning out of this world, and we have held crying family members, and we've cried in the closet over lost patients. And specifically within the past 4 years of nursing in particular, our community has looked a lot of really intense realities in the face and shown up to work every day. And there is this like level of, what is the word? There's this like level of, there's nothing too big for a nurse to handle. There's nothing that would make us bat an eye. We hold non-judgmental space for strangers all the time. We are so primed for this work that inherently, just through being a nurse, you are enough, right? You are ready for the next level of training to kind of start to help bring it all together. I have been a patient a lot in the past 5 years since becoming a nurse coach. I've given birth a few times. I have had open heart surgery. I've been the patient in the bed more times than I would prefer it. And I mean, for a nurse to be able to meet me and sit at the end of my bed while I'm crying because I can't breastfeed my daughter, or I am also in so much pain from open heart surgery, like, they were my voice, they were my advocate, they were the ones that pulled me out of bed and held my Foley bag and gave me the walker, like, truly, like, heroes. Really genuine heroes in my life. I will never forget the nurses who were my voice when I didn't have one. Oh, it like makes me want to cry right now. Like, genuinely, that inherent skill translates so well into nurse coaching. And while nurse coaching is an art, it is a dance, it is much more fluid than traditional nursing, whereas more protocol driven and checklists. And if a patient presents this way, then do this, and standing doctor's orders. We get to use a different part of our brain, but the inherent heart of a nurse shines so well here in life coaching land. And for those of you who are like, I'm not enough, I don't know how to do this, we can help you with the skill part. But I really want to encourage you that you really have a leg up here. Nurses are a trusted profession. We are likely the people that, you are the person in everybody's life that everybody is calling anyway for support, for advice, for a listening ear. You're already doing it. I bet you'll be surprised how much you're already coaching in your real life without even noticing. quite yet. But also, so there's like the skill of coaching, right? There's these tips and tools and frameworks and theories that we teach you inside of the course. And then also there is this like unfair or unique advantage that all of you bring to the table. And I want to break that down a little bit here. This is a concept that was born from a mentor of ours. His name is Scott. He's wonderful. And he calls it your unfair advantage. And I even hesitated sharing that here because I know that that's not like the coolest word ever. He uses it on purpose, but I prefer your unique advantage, right? What makes you you? What makes you awesome? What makes you relevant to a certain group of people? What makes you qualified to a certain group of people? We're going to break that down a little bit, and everybody's going to have slightly different answers to these questions. And that's the good part, right? It's hard for our brains not to rank of like, oh, so and so has X, Y, and Z, and I don't, therefore I'm less than, but more starting to view nurse coaching world as like we all play pieces in a puzzle. And my puzzle piece is just as important as yours. And I could never be you, and you can never be me. And that's kind of the point. And it's beautiful and it's awesome. And it's really encouraging. It makes enough space for everybody to win here. But there's kind of like 6 components here that I'll break down for you to where even if you're not a nurse coach at all, you can think of these things. These things are relevant. You have them already without any certifications at all. So your first one, my most favorite, your personal experience, your story. Think about your life. Like, what have you faced? What have you overcome? What challenges have you navigated through? What hardships have you dealt with? These types of things, these things that you have grown through, that you've been challenged through, these moments that brought you to your knees, those are oftentimes what you will end up helping people with. So, like if you went through a major health journey, or you overcome an autoimmune disease, or you broke free from people pleasing habits, you quit your job and travel the world full time, you are confident when you grew up a shy kid and you can now, and because you're confident, you're able to ask for the raise at your job, and you have a better marriage and a better relationship with your kids. Like, what are the things that you have lived through, grown through? That's usually who you end up helping. So thinking of yourself anywhere from like 3 to 5 years ago, what was your challenge then, and how can you help people? How can you help people now? What advice would you give yourself? What do you wish you would have known? So your personal experience is huge. Your second one is your skill set. This is like your training, your this could be professional or otherwise, like your nursing degree definitely counts, but also if you used to be in the circus and can walk a tight wire, that's pretty dope. We should consider that. It might not be like the most relevant thing, but it makes you interesting, right? You have interesting things to talk about. Other skill sets. Like, what are other things that you've learned? Any other certifications that you have? Did you have another job before your nursing career where you worked in corporate and you were a team lead or a project manager, or were you a charge nurse or a CNO or an NP? Like, there's all these skills that you have learned along the way that are relevant here, that help boost your confidence too. I always tell nurses, like, we can coach people. If you can bring somebody back to life, you can run a code, you can do this. I promise. It's not as scary. Nobody's dying here. The third category team is your talent. So a lot of times people get skill set and talent confused, but talent is something that you're like more naturally gifted at. So, like the kids in high school that were just like naturally good at every single sport that they played, they were just naturally athletic, or someone who's born with a beautiful singing voice, or someone who who was the lead all the time in high school theater, or was a really great marching band player. Like, what do people have an inherent talent for? This one can, I don't want this to be an opportunity for you to be like, I don't have any talents, I don't have any hobbies. Catch yourself down that slippery slope if this is where you're at. This is not an invitation for you to feel bad about yourself, but what are you naturally good at? Do people naturally feel safe with you and can share really vulnerable details with their life? Are people finding you at the grocery store and showing you their weird rash on their back that they've had for 3 years? And you're like, why is a stranger talking to me about their weird rash on their back? That's a talent, my friend. I know it might just feel annoying whenever people show you their rash at Walmart, but in the coaching world, that's absolutely a talent. Do you have the ability to talk about deep and meaningful topics? Rather than just like talk about the weather? Are you naturally extroverted? Are you naturally introverted? Like, all of these things are what make you you, and that they're important. All right, for your knowledge, what do you know a lot about? And this could be like, what podcasts do you listen to all the time? What books are you reading? Fiction, nonfiction? What thing do you just like nerd out over? What gets you super stoked? For me, like, okay, if I were to list off all the things that I know a lot about, not all of these are relevant to my coaching practice, but again, that's not exactly the point. All the things that are relevant to me or that I know a lot about that I spend a lot of time with. I listen to a lot of true crime content. I listen to a lot of money mindset podcasts. I listen to a lot of marketing type content. I buy a lot of mini courses based on like email marketing and text message marketing. I really like writing. I really love to write. I love to learn how to write more eloquently and express myself in that way. I really like to learn about functional medicine stuff, even though that's not like my zone of genius whatsoever. I find it fascinating and just like how all of our bodies work differently together. I love a good weird mushroom supplement, you know? Like I could really fall down a deep hole with learning about lion's mane mushrooms. Yeah, so like what are you learning about all the time? What has your attention? Step 5, your character. Who are you? How would other people in your life describe you? Are you kind? Are you warm? Are you funny? Are you trustworthy? Like how do people know you? What would be 3 words? And if you're like, I don't know, pull out your phone and like text your 2 best friends and ask them. If you had to describe me in the newspaper in 3 words or less, what would you say? That would be an interesting game to play. I often get told that I'm pretty funny in real life. I have a relatively dry sense of humor. I watched a lot of The Office and Parks and Rec growing up, so if that's your vibe, you're my people. But being funny is a superpower. I've never met an uncomfortable room. I'm always able to find something in common with someone. Even if I feel like a little unsettled, I can usually find a joke or like make a little giggle happen just so that everybody can relax. Great coaching skill to have as well to build rapport with people. It's really wonderful. It was also really great when I worked bedside too, of just being able to like crack a joke or be a little sarcastic and like be human with people. So yeah, if you're funny, cool. Welcome to the club. Connections is the last one, team. So who do you know? And this is a little bit more like entrepreneurial flavored, but who do you know? Not in the sense of like, who do I know so I can get something from them or they can help me get my business off the ground, but like, who do you know? Do you know the CNO of your hospital? Do you know the mayor of your town? Do you know local legislators or local small business owners? Like who's in your corner? If you went live with something, who could we rally on for support? Who could we serve powerfully for free? Could be really cool. So just something to keep in mind. I know the connections one makes people feel a little weird from time to time. So like don't spend a lot of time there. If it makes you feel weird, you can worry about it later. But yeah, who do you know? And usually the who do you know and your story are pretty closely related. I was talking to a nurse coach earlier who was like, I want to work with this specific type of person. And I was like, cool, do you know any of them? And she was like, yeah, I know a ton of them. Perfect. Go talk to them. Go talk to them about what you're doing. Even a few years ago, I was working with a nursing professor who did like NCLEX prep for her nursing school and had gone through nurse coaching certification. And she said that she had 2 separate Facebooks, one for her students to find online and then another like that was personal. And I was like, well, how many people do you know? How many student friends do you have on there? She was like, oh, like 3,000. It's like, oh, so you have 3,000 of your people in one place. That sounds awesome. We should go make some posts over there so that people know that you can help them. Easy connections like that. My last little love note here for you is just like simply by existing as you are today, you already have the skills, you have a unique advantage, you have the heart of a nurse, and therefore you have a heart of service, which is a necessary requirement for the coaching field. But you have a very, very solid foundation to begin. You have the beginnings of a framework here to build upon, and it's twofold, right? So like you have your unique advantage, and then you also will have the skills after going through the Nurse Life Coach Academy to be able to like mesh these 2 things together to create your medicine for the world and how you help people and how I help people and how you help people might be different, but they're both important. Like they both rank the same, right? I can't do what you do because you are you. And that's beautiful. And that is so beautiful. It's kind of like, whenever you were in nursing or whenever I thought this all the time in bedside of like, man, thank God there are wound care nurses because I physically can't. Like I've passed out more than once at work from smells Not because they're well, I guess because they are overwhelming to me, but like not because I'm grossed out, but like the smell just overwhelms my body and I literally hit the floor. It's happened to me several times. So thank God there are wound care nurses that can do that job. So grateful for for wound care nurses. They do something that I cannot. And that's a bit of a silly metaphor to like run parallel here, but it's similar. Like there are people out there, nurse coaches that do work that I couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole just because my personal experience makes me irrelevant to it, or I don't have the training or the knowledge or the skill set to be able to support it. And I'm so glad that they exist because that means those people that resonate with them have support that they need, which is really awesome. All right, team. Let me know what you think. Pop in the Facebook group, Nurse Life Coach Academy Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Brainstorm some thoughts here. Like, would love to be supportive in this process just as you think out loud. And if you want more information on our next cohort, link is down in the bio. Feel free to check it out, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Bye, everybody.